You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and further consider the issues that plague friendship. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I'm here with the first place and second place friends.
Hey!
So, friends, say hello.
Hi, I'm Megan Lutnan.
And I'm Kristin Wagel.
Wow, that was a very dramatic pause. And they are best friends, is that correct? Or friends? Wait, have you labeled it?
We're acquaintances.
We talk like every 4 months.
This is going to be a real awkward interview.
And by that we mean we talk every day, all day.
Okay, so pretty close friends.
I would say so.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I'm so glad to have you here today because I love learning about other people's friendships. It's so cool to learn about how they started, the things that you've gone through, what the friendship means to you. So we got to start from the beginning, though. The very beginning. When did y'all meet? How did you become friends? What is your friendship origin story?
You can tell how it happened from your perspective.
Sure. Yeah, I can start.
Yes. Please, Megan, go ahead.
So this is back during my freshman year at Oakland University in Rochester. I was a wee little freshman who didn't know anyone, and I started out in freshman Spanish, so like the lowest level that you can take. Hadn't taken it since grade school, knew I would only know my colors and numbers, and just like walked in and kind of figured I would meet people as we go. Yeah. And there was a small group that sat next to each other pretty much every day in class, and we would talk to each other, and one day one of the girls in the back, who was wearing a Frozen shirt, said, do you want to be partners for something, right?
Do you want to build a snowman? Is that what it was?
Well, she asked me if I wanted to be partners for like a group activity. And so I was like, okay, sure. Like we can do this. And she ended up joining the little group where we were sitting together, and literally we've been friends ever since. So since my freshman year, which is now how many years?
6?
Yeah, like
6.
she's 2 years younger than me.
Oh, so
maybe 5. Math is not my strong suit.
Relationship math is hard. It's different than regular math, right? Because people have different moments, like even in romantic relationships. No, we started dating on this date, did we? Yeah. So it is hard to negotiate that. Now, we'll talk about your Frozen shirt later, Kristin, but could you tell us a little bit more from your point of view?
Sure. So I was a junior in what I thought was Spanish 1, but apparently it was freshman Spanish.
Excuse me.
And I was commuting. I really just wanted to go to school and leave and just do my work. And Megan was definitely highly participatory in class. She knew her Spanish. And I was like, I think we had to like exchange papers or something. Yeah. And I was like, tap, tap. Hi, can you read my paper? And then she just kept talking to me like after that. And I was like, she's very nice, but I really just want to go home. And then
that's so true, though.
And then we would both get to class early, and one time she saw me reading Lord of the Rings. And
I'm sorry. Can we pause? Our Frozen shirt and Lord of the Rings?
I knew she was the one. Like, it just...
One ring to rule the friendship, right? Okay.
And then the next week, she brought me a Lord of the Rings poster.
What?
And like a little Lord of the Rings ring, the One Ring.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of background to this.
Yeah.
In that aspect, my family is like Lord of the Rings nerds.
Yes.
So back in the day, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. You can totally talk back over me if you want to. But we had a Lord of the Rings party that we sold for like an auction at school one year. My mom is like literally, shout out to Kelly, the biggest Lord of the Rings nerd. So I had like posters and rings left over from this party. When I found out she liked it, I was like, best way to make a friend is through gifts. And then we just went from there.
So then
That's
after
amazing.
We kept being like partners in that class, and then we would go to our student center, which was the OC, and I would usually sit by myself, eat lunch, just do my homework, and then we just kept running into each other, and she was like, why don't you sit with us? And I was like,
you can sit with us.
Yes. When usually for Mean Girls, it's you can't sit with us.
And then we just started sitting together, and then next semester we would see each other for lunch, and so we just started spending all of our like lunch periods together, and then we'd hang out after, and then like outside of school, and then eventually we just like got to a place where she'll call me after work, and we'll just text each other random things throughout the day, and here we are.
Well, I just love, so what you're saying here, I think I was only going to say the metaphor of the story, but that doesn't make sense. The theme of the story is this, that you wanted to leave school every day and just go home, and Megan changed your mind on that?
Yes.
Aw, I love you too.
Now, I like this idea of the best way to make a friend is through gifts. And I see no Lord of the Rings ring with you today to give to me.
I'm sorry. I should have thought of that, but I didn't know that you were
a nerd too.
Until you told us that you were watching Game of Thrones, I wasn't even aware. You know,
Kristin, you tell her nothing about me.
Listen, I'm trying to keep like some friends to myself. Like I don't want to share.
Yeah, that's okay. So there's two interesting points here. One is gifts are the best way to make friends, right? Is that your love language? Like, you're familiar with love languages, right? You know, where they have the affirmations, touch, gifts, quality time, and then service. And so gifts is one of them. Now, are you someone, Kristin, that's like, yes, gift me, please?
Definitely not.
Yeah, I would actually say no to that, too, just from knowing her for this long.
I would say probably for both of us, quality time.
Yeah.
I do live in Mount Pleasant. She lives in
Bloomfield.
So we don't get to spend that much time physically together, but we spend a lot of time on the phone, FaceTiming, texting,
sending each other memes on Instagram. That's a big one. And I mean, that's been a really great proponent of our friendship for me, just because I love to talk. If you can't already tell, it's just one of the things that I feel most comfortable doing is talking on the phone. So I do a lot of long distance driving. My boyfriend lives in Cincinnati. Oh, wow. And Kristin has become my go-to call when I'm driving down there. So I'll shoot her a text saying that I'm going down. Yeah. Expect a call from me. And we talk on the phone for an hour plus pretty much every time. So catching up, what's going on during the week, if there's some type of drama, it's one of our favorites. But it's become really special to me, just knowing that she'll always answer and I can talk to her whenever. So for me, I would say, well, I want to shower you in gifts, but I know that's not your favorite thing. Well,
it seems like you've really taken advantage of the quality time aspect of it, even though you're not in the same place geographically, right? But it even started with your friendship, right? Doing lunch, that quality time over even in the little amount of time you had. Mm-hmm. Was the transition hard when you were then apart from each other? So you were in the same area when you were at Oakland University together?
We didn't live, we both commuted to school. Oh, okay. So neither of us lived in the dorm area. But she graduated before me. She's a little bit older, mature woman. But
with her Frozen t-shirt and her Lord of the Rings ring. Sorry.
But by the time you were graduating, I still had a couple of years of school left. Mm-hmm. So that was something that was a little bit it made me very anxious because I was okay, well, one of my people is not going to be here anymore, because I would, by the end of the time that we were friends, by the end of our friendship, that's not what I meant to say.
You did say that you were acquaintances, so at the start of the hour.
By the time that she was graduating, I was a little bit worried. I was you don't always stay in touch with people that you meet in school, but I wanted to. Yeah. And we found a way to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was not a phone talker.
Oh, I hate the phone.
I really would only talk to my mom on the phone, and we had this Spanish homework. It was online, and everything really had to be perfect, or you got the whole question wrong, and it'd be a whole paragraph.
It wasn't fair.
It was not fair. And we would.
Hi, teacher here. No, that. APA, same thing as the formatting, right? Anyways, continue.
And so we would be texting about it, and she'd be like, I'm just going to call you. And I was like, no, you're not. Do not call me. And so it was an adjustment for me to change how we were going to spend quality time that way, because that was not something that I'm used to. Yeah. But now it's like, call her and like, hi. I don't have anything to say, but hi.
I wanted to see how you are.
Well, it also sounds like the moral of that story is she didn't like talking on the phone, and you changed that too, Megan.
What can I say? I just have these like life-changing qualities about me. No, I mean, I also had to adjust too, though, because it wasn't like I do like to talk, but, you know, calling someone that you don't normally talk to on the phone can be a little bit, you know, anxiety-driven too.
Yeah.
And I remember we FaceTimed for the first time too, and I was like, do I have to, like, look good on this? I don't know. What are the rules?
You're like, take a shower, you're like full makeup, you never wear makeup, but for FaceTime, you just never know.
But, like, in that way, you know, even where the phone, you can hear the other person's voice, and that's comforting. Like, you can see the other person's face and, like, emotions and, like, things like that. And both of us have, like, gone through some harder stuff, too. And so that sometimes makes it a little bit, you know, touches your heart a little bit more because you're like, I can see you and I know that you're looking at me like you care.
Yeah. It's like, well, you know, people when, like, I feel like I've been seen. You know, I feel like people say that online now when it's just based on a tweet, like, I feel heard, I feel understood, I feel seen. And so FaceTime actually gives you that, right?
Yeah, right.
If you can't be together, it's the closest thing that I would say to face-to-face communication. So, Kristin, when you were talking about in the beginning of your origin story, you talked about going up to Megan and just like tap, tap, tap. Is that something you usually do? Like, if you weren't looking to make a connection per se, or?
No, as you may know, I'm very task-driven.
Yes.
So I was like, I have a task. I want to get a good grade on this Spanish assignment.
Yeah.
So I know that she had some nice Spanish skills. So I was like,
thank you.
And she, like I said, she was very friendly in class. So I felt comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And so it's not something I do often, but also, I don't want to go to class and be completely isolated.
Yeah.
So whether it's just turning to the person next to me and being like, how'd this assignment go for you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how friendships start, I guess.
Yeah, you might not always have it, like, in mind, like, I'm going to make a friend today. But, and when Kristin said, as I may know, it's because Kristin is a graduate student at Central Michigan.
Yeah, boy! Fire up chips!
That was Megan. So, yes, I do know Kristin. And I feel like Megan and I are new best friends.
It's true.
Which brings
me there.
I think a little left out.
Well, and I think that's a really interesting point that you bring up, though, is that we might not have that in mind, but there's other goals that we might have, and then along the way, just not wanting to feel isolated or wanting to do well in a class, that you turn to other people so that you don't feel left out.
Yeah, and it was something I never expected. I just think Megan is a great person, and she has very great friendship abilities. So she kind of like swooped in and unexpectedly became like a very close friend. Like you said, it was never expected, but like once we started communicating more often, it was kind of inevitable that we would get here.
Yeah. Oh, you swept her off her feet. Her friendship feet.
I'm gonna cry. I mean, Kristin has so many wonderful qualities too. Like, I really value intelligence in a person. And another thing that I would want to do in classes, right, is you find people who you know are like actually going to be driven by their schoolwork and wanting to graduate. You know, we, in a lot of ways, while we goof off and joke around all the time, we're both pretty serious about our, you know, academic careers. I mean, she's a genius. There's nothing new there. Like, anybody who knows her knows that. But as soon as I saw the way that she, you know, approached her schoolwork and how serious she was, I was like, this is a person I'm going to want to know. Yeah. What came after that, you know, was a pleasantly wonderful surprise. But just getting the opportunity to, like, learn from her has been a really wonderful thing, too. Because I feel like she teaches me new things every day. You know, as a CMU grad student, she has to work on this, like, thesis, right? And it's a big deal. And I'm so proud of her. I tell everyone about it. I was literally I don't know if I told you this. I was talking to my parents about it the other night at dinner. And they were like, wow, she sounds so smart. I was like, she is. But, like, all of this stuff, you know, I was an English major in school, so I didn't take any of, like, the comm stuff that you do. So anything that she can tell me about, the major and, like, what she's been doing and what she's going to defend when she defends her thesis is just really cool because it's not stuff I know, and I'm continually learning throughout our friendship, too, which is awesome.
Yeah. So intelligence is something you look for in a friendship. Kristin, what's one of the things you said that she had some friendship abilities? What particularly about her drew you to her?
Megan has this ability to never judge you, and I know that we say that about a lot of our friends, like, oh, they never judge me, but I've never...
This is actually true.
Yeah, this is actually true. None of the advice is like, I wouldn't do that, or you should do this, you should do that. It's like, I'll support you either way. Here's the pros and cons of this. I don't have experience with that, so, like, I'm just here to support you. Here are some things that you could do. It's never pushing me in one way or another. She's the first person that I call when something's going on. She makes my feelings are always valid, and she sees things through both sides, but she's always my, like, number one fan. And
that is true.
So before we were on mic, we were joking about, like, first place, second place. And so now this is your first place when it comes to Kristin's call.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think that's for both of us.
Oh, you're both first. What is
soccer?
Are you tying? It's a draw.
We get participation trophies.
Yeah, everyone gets a participation trophy.
Friends, everyone. But
actually, everyone should get a friendship.
Yeah,
I need to get friendship. New swag, friendship
trophies. It's like a keychain trophy that you, like, carry around.
Oh my God.
We can talk more about merch later. Like, I have ideas. We're good.
Well, I could do, like, a friendship award ceremony.
I mean, that's an awesome idea.
Okay, we'll talk off mic. And listeners, if anyone has any ideas for friendship awards, please message me immediately.
I love it.
I was so excited right now.
I love it.
But continue. I don't even remember what we were talking about.
Qualities, I guess, that we like in each other.
Friendship abilities, and Megan doesn't judge.
Yeah, I mean, Kristin doesn't either. But, like, we aren't afraid to ask each other, like, the hard questions. So, like, if something comes up and we're upset, we'll be like, well, what about this? Like, have you thought about this? In the prospect of, possible, like, future stuff. We talk about that all the time. It's the conversations that you, like, feel safe having, but also know that they're, like, serious conversations. So that's another. And then if we're just I told you I'm her number one fan, so I'll just talk forever.
Okay.
But she has the utmost sense of self out of a person that I've ever met before in my life. So she knows herself so well, which, like, so many people when they're in college or after college, are, like, in this weird space where they don't know who they are or, like, what they're doing. And we definitely struggle with that. We talk about that all the time.
I might be in that phase now.
Hey, you know what? There's no time limit for it.
I was going to say, and no judgment, apparently, from the two of you.
I'm telling you.
Thank you.
But she knows herself really well, and so that makes, like, what she says, even more important to me because it's not just her saying stuff. It's, like, she means everything that she says. And when we talk about ourselves or we talk about, the other people in our lives, she's very clear-headed in the way that she approaches things. We definitely feel a lot of emotions, both of us, and we just have a lot of feelings about things, including other friendships in our lives too. That's another thing that we talk about. We're not the only friend of, like, Kristin is one of my.
Yeah, we need to go back to this point. Kristin doesn't share.
She doesn't share, but she, we have friendships from before we met each other, and other things like that. And we've always been very vocal about, like, this is not something you would do. Like, why is this person doing this to me? Or, like, things like that. Yeah. Which is another thing. It's an utmost sense of comfort, just, like, talking to her. Always. Dreamy eyes.
Hard eyes.
Okay, well, so Kristin, you made the joke a couple times about sharing friends.
Or to not share friends.
Yes. Well, I know, and you have a sense of humor, which is good.
Well, thank you.
It's another one of my favorite things about her. She's so funny.
But I don't think it's, like, one of those senses of humors where, like, when you're being funny, it isn't like always obvious, but it's like...
Oh, she's definitely got like a dry wit.
Yes.
Like sarcastic, out the wazoo.
Yes.
I'm very gullible too, so like sometimes I think she's serious and she's totally not. And I've had to learn over time, oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
You are joshing me. Like, come on.
So I think like when you say that, oh, there's other friends, you're joking.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about having, and Megan, this will be a question for you too, that you have friendships from before? How do you manage all that? Like in time with other people, does it feel like time is taken away when you have to balance multiple friendships?
Well, we have friends from different areas of our lives. We don't have any friends that cross over. Mm-hmm. So we know about each other's friends. I would say that
we know them very well. Almost.
We know them very well. They've never met, but like you would think that they're good friends too.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of overlapping friends or relationships. So it is kind of hard navigating like how to divide time and navigating like feeling jealous over because quality time is our love language. But I've never felt like Megan is choosing one over the other. I think we both agree that you have so many relationships in your lives, and sometimes you spend more time with her boyfriend. She spends more time with her boyfriend, and I get that because he lives in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But then she'll drive out here to see me.
Yeah.
And even if we just grab, like, we'll wake up early and get breakfast at, like, 7:30 or get coffee. And
she's an early riser.
I was like, 7:30?
Or we'll go to, like, the gym together.
Yeah.
And we'll just try and find whatever works.
Yeah.
We just enjoy being around each other. So any time is good time. But we also understand that other relationships are important, and I don't think there's ever been a feeling of like a hierarchy of relationships, which makes it good because sometimes there is that feeling, whether that's true or not.
Yeah. I think that's inherently natural as humans and human beings wanting connection, and once you have those connections, and then you're like, why is my friend connecting with other people? I don't like this chemistry I see between people making friends.
Yeah, I am number one, remember?
Yes, she's number one. And Megan, how do you feel as being number two?
I've been there my whole life. Not surprised.
Always a bridesmaid, right?
Well, the thing is, though, when we first met each other, we were in college, like there's a good, not like a good chunk, but like a chunk of time where we just didn't know each other. So part of becoming friends was learning about the other relationships we already had.
Yeah.
And like the two of us have had, some pretty long-term friendships with people that we are still in touch with to this day. I mean, relationships change as you get older, for sure. So like there are people that I was friends with maybe when Kristin and I first started hanging out that I'm not friends with anymore.
Yeah.
But the fact that we've found a way to navigate that to continue being friends is really cool too.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like there are times too where we're not, like up until recently, I would say, we didn't always talk on the phone. We didn't text all that frequently. Like we were the friends that would sometimes not see each other, but then when we saw each other, it was just like yesterday. Like
you pick right back up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And even if it's for just like a quick coffee, or things like that. But like one thing that I value about Kristin is that she helps me with insecurities that I have. So for one thing, Kristin is really, really good at fitness stuff.
She is.
I've
asked her several times to organize me, and she still hasn't.
Well, so that's one thing.
As she sinks down into a turtle.
Well, that's one thing that I've always really struggled with is like my own personal like body image and like finding stuff that works for me. I mean, preach, right? There's so many people that struggle with that stuff. And, I'm not speaking for you in this instance. You can totally talk to this yourself, but like, she has helped me with that so much. Like, I literally just told her, like, some things that I was struggling with. And she's like, okay, let's come up with a plan. Because this is something that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
We can help each other. So she literally, this is like my shout out to, like, your future life, put together a 6-week workout plan for me. Based off of, she asked me all these questions. She was like, okay, what do you want to get out of this? What are things that you want to, like, build, like, muscle-wise? What are areas you want to target? All of this stuff. And I told her, And then she, like, went above and beyond. I have a packet, okay, that she made me.
Does it have a logo and everything? It sounds like a side business.
It's copyrighted right in the top corner. It's awesome. But she put it all together for me and she literally went to the gym with me and went through the entire plan. So all 6 weeks, we touched on every single workout. Aww. She went through all of the machines I would be using. So, like, I would feel comfortable because one of the biggest places of insecurity for me is the gym.
Yeah.
There are so many people who are fit there, and I don't fit into that category at all. So I was like, how am I going to work here?
Yeah.
And Kristin made it possible for me. And I'm on week 5 of 6 right now. Sunday is going to be the end of week 5. And we're going to come up with a new one now that we're done with this, too. So it's made me feel confident in an area that I never felt confident before in my life.
I have to say, like, I've interviewed a lot of friends on this podcast, and friendship is something that I live and breathe, and I'm over here trying not to cry, and this is one of the only times I want to cry. There's something about that.
Can you believe that? Yeah, I know. She's
just
amazing.
Speaks to me, like, in the sense of, like, I am not, sometimes it's like I can't do something until I see that it's, okay, so background, right? So I tell the story, and I might have talked about it on the podcast before, where when I lived in New York, I wanted to change from the YMCA because it was too expensive and it was like family based, and I'm single, and everyone in my Zumba class was like 80, including the instructor, and all they danced to was Shakira, and I just
hips don't lie,
literally, unless they break, and then it's like betrayal, right? There was something about it where I was just like, this is really cool, and go ladies, like, I want to be you one day, but I just wanted to be able to work out when I wanted to work out, right? And that wasn't possible because I have pretty strict hours and stuff. So I wanted to go to Step Fitness, but Step Fitness is one of the places where you have to get in, right? Like, that's my car noise, but it's a scanner.
Okay.
You scan to get in. But I was like, how do you get in there to get a membership if it's always locked? And so I probably for 4 months, like, drove by and was like, how does this place
Am
work?
I welcome?
Yeah. And then finally it was something like 10 to 4 open today. And I was like, oh, you can walk in today. They unlock the door. But I'm that kind of person. I wouldn't have ever gone until I figured it out or I'd been there the first time. And once I do it the first time, I'm fine after that. So I feel like that really speaks to me that, and if a friend can recognize that and come up with a way so they can see you achieve these goals with knowledge that you have. Because, I had Kristin in class last semester. And she always sat at the end of the table area with all of her delicious foods, and that she came in and she has so much control.
I'm telling you.
Because we brought food in every single week, which we should have not done that at all. But, like, every week someone else brought, like, all this food, and we're all eating, like, oh, and the only thing is, though, I have one complaint, and it's not really a complaint. Because she brings in cheesy potatoes, which are freaking delicious. And how am I supposed to think about exercising and eating
when
healthy?
They exist.
Yes, like, thanks for bringing all these cheesy potatoes.
It's no response.
It's so good, though. It's so good. But that is, I mean, I think that's amazing, is my point, is that really speaks to me.
It's definitely, like, a testament to just her as a person.
Yeah.
Because not everyone would take the time to do something like that.
Yeah.
And it's cool because she got to kind of apply something she's very passionate about.
Yeah.
To something that I wanted to be but didn't know how to be.
Yeah.
So.
I don't have the resources to help Megan in other ways.
Yeah.
I would love to, like, buy her a house and a car and...
Oh my God.
Oh, wait, I thought we said gifts wasn't in.
I mean, like, on top of our friendship. Other things.
Yeah.
I would love to, like, I don't know, like, help her find, like, her most perfect job, but, like, I just can't do that. I don't have the resources for that. I don't have the knowledge for it.
Yeah.
But fitness is something that I can help her with. So I want to help her in any way that I can. And that is just something that I feel like I can do. And I want Megan to thrive in every aspect of her life. Mm-hmm. And that's sometimes I feel like that's the only way that I can help her. And if that's the only way that I help her, then I'm going to go all in and do what I need to do to help her.
Which she absolutely did.
Yeah.
And still is continuing to do.
So. I do love that all-in attitude. That's kind of the person I am, too. It's like, if we're going to be friends, and it's not like we're going to be friends in a creepy way, but it's like, I'm going to do what I can, right? And so I appreciate that. So, So I love that story of like going to the gym and everything together. Do you have any stories from your friendship that really also reflect who you two are? Much like that, or maybe something a little crazy? I don't know.
Well, I would say that crazy doesn't really describe our friendship. I would say it's pretty predictable. Pretty, like, not exciting. Like, little moments are exciting. We don't go out and, like, party or anything, but, like, we have more fun just hanging out with each other.
Yeah.
A story that doesn't describe our friendship, but is one of our favorite stories to tell is in this Spanish class we had to do.
I'll never forget it.
We had to do this skit. It was, like, our final thing. And it was this group of us, and
we did all the work.
Well, of course we did all the work.
All of it.
There was
That doesn't surprise me.
we had 5 people in our group. We had the biggest group, I think.
Yeah, we had
it was
5
normally
people.
4.
Yeah. And one of the other girls in our group was sick with mono, and we're like, forget it, we'll just do it all, just show up on the day, I guess. And
Figure it out, I guess.
yeah. And these 2 guys, and we were allowed to have scripts, but we weren't allowed to just, like, read from them. So we did a restaurant scene, and we put our scripts on the our plates.
Smart.
So we could, like, take a glance down, but you still look like you're, like, acting, not well. Spanish soap opera, kind of along those lines. But it was basically supposed to be the easiest thing. And we knew our lines. Okay. We had practiced, but the other people in our group did not at all.
Oh, gosh. Did they speak Spanish when they get there?
So there were 4 of us who came to class early and were like, all right, here's where you are. We'll just follow it all the way down. It says, like, Megan, and then says her line, then Kristin, and then the next person, the next person. Yeah. So you really just follow along. Yeah. And then Lamarn shows up.
Oh, dang, we're dropping names.
Yeah. Shout out Lamarn. I'll never forget this.
I'll never forget you.
He shows up, like, either right on time or late, and we're like, here's your plate with your script on it.
Do you even know what's going on?
Do you know our names?
Do you know that we are presenting today?
This is Spanish class.
And then I don't know if you want to finish the story. I feel like you tell it best.
So he shows up. I don't know if he was having a rough day. I remember he was in these sunglasses, like, in the classroom. I was like, what's been going on? So he gets up there, and we're about to do our presentation. So we had this really cool professor. Well, I don't know. Would you describe him as cool? Professor Signs. Shout out Professor Signs.
You just said you didn't know if he was cool.
I don't know if he would describe himself as cool.
Okay.
There's other stories we have about him, too.
We're getting all the dirt today.
But he was like, all right, your group is next. So we get up in the front of the room. We set up all of our stuff. And we start going through the skit. And he gets on this accent. Lamarn puts on an accent like nothing else I've ever heard before. It wasn't Spanish. It was, like, Italian. And he was, like, like, moving his hands and, like, not looking at, like, went off script. Like, just decided, I'm just going to start saying words that aren't actually in Spanish. Like, gibberish. Like, pretty sure he said, like, added O's to the end of words that weren't in Spanish. It was so bad. And we're, like, looking at each other, like, trying not to panic because this is our final project.
Yeah, and grades.
For our class, we want to get a good grade in. Yeah. And he just butchered his way through it. And the other 2 who are in our group did a pretty good job. They did, but to this day, we just can't not laugh about that because it was traumatic for us. We, like, literally got, and both of us had our head in our hands, like, we're gonna fail. Like,
he put his last line in the middle, so he was like, adios, and we're like, no, hola, welcome back. Like,
they're coming into the restaurant, not leaving. Oh, it was.
Maybe it's like Hawaii, where aloha means hello and goodbye.
And then we finish, and Professor Signs was like, all right.
That happened.
Yeah. Interesting.
But just, like, funny things like that. I think we have had a lot of memories together and a lot of memorable things. Yeah. Whether or not they're, like, we haven't gotten, like, chased by police officers, like,
what?
Like, not those kind of stories. But, like, I mean, we had one last night.
Oh, what happened last night? About last night, tell us.
So We went to the CMU gymnastics competition last night.
Yes, go Chips. They are the MAC championships this year.
Yeah, they won yesterday, which was really cool. It was my first time ever at a gymnastics competition.
Yeah, they're fun.
But I forgot my phone in the...
In McGurk?
Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
Yes. The Gurk?
McGurk.
McGurk. But I didn't realize I forgot it until we got back and we're making dinner.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just can't find my phone right now. Like, where is it? And you're like, did you leave it there? And I was like, no, like I didn't. I'm going to go check the car, like all this stuff. Can't find it anywhere.
Oh, gosh.
So Kristin, being the level-headed, wonderful person she's like, I'm just going to call them and like see if they have it.
Yeah.
They found it, but we couldn't find the person who had it. Literally, we were walking around, like, asking everyone.
Who has my phone?
Who has it? Well, someone answered the phone. They were like, hello? I was like, did you steal it?
Give me my phone back.
But just, like, stuff like that, you know, never gonna forget it.
Yeah, I think our favorite thing to do is we call each other Karen.
This is good.
Are you wanting to speak to the manager?
Exactly.
That is exactly it.
Okay, yes.
So I think you started it.
I don't know what it is. Okay, so there's so many. We love memes. It's a big proponent of our friendship.
Yes, and I get that because you copied a meme off for me and gave it to me about podcasting.
They're great. They're funny and make our day and all this stuff. But there was one that was literally like, I cannot remember what it was, but it was something like someone was complaining and it was like, enough, Karen, like kind of thing. So we call each other Karen. We call other people in stories Karen. Yeah. It's just, like, I refer to her that way. My parents thought her name was Karen at first. And they're like, wait, I thought her name was Karen. I was like, guys.
Keep up.
Seriously.
I'll be like, hey, Siri, call Karen. And they're like, you don't have a Karen in your contacts. And I'm like, oh.
That's
Come
what
on,
I meant
Siri. Siri should know better.
Yeah, come on.
So now, anytime there's a Karen meme, instantly sent to each other.
Yeah.
There was one about vaccinating your children the other day that was like, Karen, your child is going to kill the entire United States. And I was like, yep. I said it to you. I was like, get it together, Karen. She was like, oh, God.
I'm like, a large gathering of Karens is a murder of Karens.
Yeah. That was good.
I'm laughing really hard because I don't know if you listen to the podcast, My Favorite Murder, and one of the hosts is a Karen.
Oh, my God, how funny.
But she's probably not like a Karen.
No, she's one of my sheroes. I wish I could be as eloquent and badass.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I've never heard that before.
Because hero got the he in it. Got to be like a shero.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start using that.
I'm going to start calling people Karen.
Please do.
Well, do you like call each other Karen when it's like, Kristin, you need to calm down. Megan, stop being a Karen. Or do you just do it for laughs?
I mean, I'll answer the phone and be like, hey, Karen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's literally, and bye, Karen. Karen, you will not believe this story, Karen, kind of thing. But I don't think we refer to each other, like in a mean way. Like,
yeah.
We refer to other people as Karen. It's a really good
it's like a
code, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like it's, when you're talking about other people, it's like, you know what that means. But because you have that thing together, it's more of like this nickname for each other.
Yeah.
Like, if you called each other like love or babe, you have the babe on your shirt.
I do. Hey, babe.
Yeah, I mean, I guess romantic partners do that. Some friends probably do that too. And that's actually something that I find really interesting is nicknames and things like that. So do you have any other nicknames for each other? Or do I need just to have listeners send in stories about how they got their nicknames for their friends? Because I think those stories are great.
We don't call each other, we just Megan and Kristin and Karen.
Any one of our personas.
The three best friends anyone could ever have.
Yeah, so that's definitely, I mean, she was Karen in my phone for a while too. So, you know, like that, I would definitely say if we had a nickname for each other, that's what we would go by. Yeah. Both of us, the same name.
But it's like lovingly.
Yeah, it's a term of endearment.
That's what I was looking for, term of endearment. But so you love memes, you love Lord of the Rings. Kristin likes Frozen.
I like Frozen too.
Okay, sorry, just cutting.
I'll build a snowman with her.
Any day.
That's.
So what other things are y'all into?
We both like to read.
Yes.
We've shared a lot of books.
You have time to read?
We used to. Well, I don't anymore. I'm a communication scholar, so I only read academic articles now.
Nerd.
I don't know. What are things that we do together?
I think we just like to sit and talk about, like, debrief at the end of the day, but also have, like, larger talks about life without it being just, like, what is the meaning of life? Like, we have conversations that are really meaningful and bring value to other aspects of our life. So, I mean, last night she was like, yeah, that's my worst fear. And then we just started talking about that and just having these conversations where we just talk about everything.
Yeah. It's one of those things, like, there's a lot of people who might not be comfortable telling other people their fears, even their friends, or having those deep conversations. So it seems like you're both very open. Would you say that you're very similar? Because you talked about intelligence, sense of humor, the value, and now we're talking about these open conversations. Would you say that you're similar people, or that there are some core values that are similar and then you're different in other ways?
Yeah, I would say if you stripped us down, our core values would be the same. You know, I think we would handle situations the same. We want the same things out of life. We treat other people in our lives the same way, but I think she's more outgoing than I am. We just have different personalities, but definitely the same values.
I think that's interesting because I think a lot of times people, based on personality, were like, oh, I never get along with that person, right? Or, like, you were sitting in the front in Spanish, and you were up there, and you were in the back, and did you notice her in class before she tapped?
Well, yeah, she's freaking gorgeous. How do you not notice that?
She just did a hair flip.
I mean, it's not something I'm insecure about. I can talk to people. It's not something that's hard for me.
Yeah.
But other girls can be intimidating.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say you were intimidating, but you definitely have a very strong sense of self, and you never waver from that. So, like, it's something that I sometimes struggle with. So that's, I would say, a difference between the two of us. Kristen's just, like, very strong all around, like, she handles situations well. She lifts heavy at the gym. That was so good. Sorry. I had to throw that in there. We were talking about that the other day. Yeah. I lift, like, the 5 pounds. She does not.
Hey, how much do you lift?
I mean, it depends what I'm doing.
Excuse me. You're talking to someone who still is donating money to Planet Fitness.
Just as a monthly, like...
$10 to Planet Fitness every month.
Peace be with you.
Yeah, keep it going. Keep it going.
When we were in Spanish, she just would... I think she, like, walked in on the first day and was like, hi, everyone. And
that is true. I think,
Yeah, she was just, like, talking to everyone. She, like, would sit down and be like, hey, how are you? Aww. And would always, like... Our professor, you ask a question and everyone just, like, looks away the whole class. And she, like, would raise her hand and talk, and I was like,
are you
another
Hermione?
One of those people?
Yeah, and I was like, geez. Like, and I just wanted to get in and out, so I was like, who would participate in class? Who does that? Like, don't be so excited about it. And then...
I was a freshman! Don't judge me. And then I continued to do that for my entire college career. So, it was just ingrained.
I was going to say, it just seems like it's who you are.
Yeah. So there's definitely, like, that. I don't know if reserved is the better word. I tend to, like, sit back and think about, not that you don't think about it, but I
don't.
Take,
so. You know me.
Take more time, feel it out a little bit more, where I think Megan just...
I would say you're discerning in the way that you, like, make, not judgments, but, like, the way that you see situations. You, like, observe way more than I do. And you, like, come up with, like, a valid solution or, like, judgment calls, in situations.
Yeah, but I admire her for being so outgoing and, like, warm and inviting all the time because, I think... She's very easy to talk to as a stranger, as a friend. People may think that I'm maybe not intimidating, but like that not as easy to come up to.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I admire about her because it's not easy to always be like that.
Yeah, when y'all got here, she came into my house first before Kristin, right? She's just like, hi! And then she's like becoming best friends with Ferguson, and we talked about Game of Thrones, right? Like, well, you do make it easy, because like, I feel like I'm similar to you in a lot of ways, Megan, where I'm outgoing and that sort of thing, but sometimes it can be exhausting.
Oh,
yeah, but it's like, and so, but I also, you're coming into my home to record, so I want to be welcoming, and I was like, man, she's doing it better than I am.
It is really, it can be super exhausting.
Yeah.
My mom likes to describe me as an extroverted introvert, which is, a thing.
Yes.
I can definitely turn it on and meet people and talk to people, but like, I need my space.
Yeah.
And one thing, being extroverted, it can be easy to start friendships, but a lot of them are not long lasting.
Yeah.
Because, you can talk to someone and be like, oh my gosh, I can talk to them in class, but do I want to continue being a friend? Like, will they be my friend? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kristin is the perfect example of someone who I never want to lose as a friend, because while, we may be different in some ways in the way that we approach things, blah, 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 all this stuff, like, she is a good person.
Yeah.
And a good friend. Like, bad friendships exist.
Yeah, girl.
They are not. There are toxic friendships.
Yes, there are.
Just like there's toxic masculinity.
Yes, preach.
But
Snaps.
Good friendships exist, and when you find them, you have to hold on to them. So I'm gonna hold Karen's hand for the rest of my life.
Karen, will you take?
Will you take Karen's hand?
Well, okay. So the friendship person in me and over here is like, I love everything you're saying. Because I think that's excellent. Like, the first thing is, I don't think we spend enough time even thinking about friendship, right? We just assume they're going to be there and that they're not any work, or that everything is supposed to be like puppy dogs and ice cream with them. Like, everything's happy, but sometimes we're stuck in friendships that we don't know how to get out of because of it being toxic, or we have bad friends, but we've been friends with them since first grade.
Yes.
We might feel forced in those friendships in the workplace. Like, there's all sorts of situations where things can go wrong, and there's transitions, and sometimes we lose friends that were good friends, but we can still think of them in like a fond way, right? And we don't lose them. We have that memory, but then we have people, like you said, I never want to lose Kristin as a friend. And so let's celebrate that, right? Like, to me, it's like, but the people who are listening and like, well, that sounds like an amazing friendship, and I wish my friends and I were like that, or this and that and the other thing. This, that, and the other thing. This, that, and the other thing. But it's one of those things, like, we do have to work through the issues of friendship, right? And so that's what I've been trying to do on this podcast. So, like,
which
celebrating,
is awesome.
It's like balancing those two things. So.
When Kristin told me about this, I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
Because you don't always even, it's just sometimes a passing thing, right? You're like, I have friends, but I also have a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Or I have, like, familial relationships. But, like, friends are the people in life you get to choose.
Yes.
And then, like, you keep them if you want to, and then they support you and everything, and they don't always ask for stuff. It's just they're amazing. People don't see the value, but they're so valuable. A good friendship is worth more than anything.
Yes,
more than money. And I love
that
money.
House and car that Kristin was gonna get you. Your friend, you don't have to give me a house. We're friends.
That is the most valuable thing ever.
Yeah, and I think it's easy, especially with the age that we're at. We're taking the next step in our romantic relationships. We're getting jobs that are our careers. We're moving. Yeah. It's easy to have your friends it seems like your friendships are always going to be there, and you invest less, you put in less work there. And it's easy to just focus on other things and assume that your friends are always going to be there. And I'd never want to look back on my friendships and be like, oh, I wish I would have put in more work because, we could have a stronger friendship, or like, I wish I would have been there. Or I wish I would have done this. Yeah. I want to do it because I love these people, and, I appreciate their company, and I never want to lose that.
Yes.
It's a different type of love.
Yes.
That's very valuable.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the things that it's throughout life, because, my grandma would start asking me in like 4th grade if I had a boyfriend. No, I'm like 9. I don't have a boyfriend. But I had friends before that, right? And then I have romantic relationships and I have friends during that, but then they're there after, right? Like there's going to be friends at different stages of life, and your family might not always be at the same level of friends, and your romantic relationship might not be, but we put way more time into romantic and family. And so it's just one of those things, like, I think that we should say I love you to our friends, or Karen, or whatever.
I love you, Karen.
Whatever the nicknames and the terms of endearment, and just communicating and letting people know what they mean to you, so that we can be grateful and be sure that the person is still there, because they might not be someday, right?
Yeah.
Like, for various different reasons. And so, I on the first episode of this podcast, talk about, one of my best friends was killed in a car accident when I was 16, and the last time I saw her, like, the conversation could have been different, right? And it's like, you can do the coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it's like, well, then it's just going to be like letting people know how I feel about them, so that they always know no matter what. And the same that they would say back to me, hopefully. So I think, that is really meaningful and valuable, and I wish more people spent time thinking about their friendship, talking about their friendship, talking to their friends about their friendship, because, Kristin, you're right, like, this is the age in which there's a lot of changes happening, and so it's probably a big change in friendships, right? God, I sound really old. When I was your age. Oh, now I just pulled my when I was your age. That might have been my first one. Oh, dear Lord. But, like, there are people I was friends with that I'm not friends with anymore. But there's also my best friend, Kate. We've been best friends since we were 17. So, established in 1995.
There we go.
Trademarked. Copyrighted. So then you were saying, like, this is a friend I don't want to lose. Where do you see your friendship in 10, 20, 40 years?
Well, Megan is actually, Karen, sorry.
I can't believe you called me by my first name.
Call me by my real name. Megan is actually moving to Cincinnati in 3 weeks. She got a job there. That's where her boyfriend lives now. So she's moving there. But I've lived in Mount Pleasant for 2 years now. And so we've become accustomed to that long distance friendship. So, our friendship will have to, like, figure out how to do that with being even further apart, and, like, me taking my next step in my life and her taking the next step in her life. But we're both willing to put in the work. We both want to put in the work. We don't want this friendship to end. Yeah. So figuring out what that looks like, more FaceTime conversation, more calls, we've already made plans.
We were talking about this,
to meet in person when she's back in May. Yeah. So making sure that we always have time for each other. Yeah. I don't see this friendship ending for any reason. Megan's not the type of person who, if we just stop talking on the phone, she's just going to let it go. She's going to call me.
I would find her.
I have a particular set of skills. It's like the movie Taken with Liam Neeson.
So I don't see it ending. We have had friendships start and end within our own friendship, and we've been there for each other through hard times and the good times and the in-between times. Yeah. So I see proceeding the same.
I can definitely see us having some adventures in Cincinnati too. Like, I was just asking her about this the other day about, coming to visit and, what weekends would be good and, if we can plan some time because, there are certain things that we like to do that, like, I don't need Josh to come. Josh is my boyfriend.
Josh, you can stay home.
Shout out to Josh. He's a good dude. But, for example, like, there's some cool hiking in Cincinnati. And I was like, Kristin, do you want to go hiking? Like, you have to come visit. Yeah. And so, it's just, people say things all the time, right? You'll be like, I'll come visit. Yeah. But how many people actually follow through on visiting? How many people actually follow through on getting back together, or we'll get lunch? How many times have you heard that from someone who's
have you seen that meme where it's like friendship is just people being like, "Well, do you want to get? Yeah, do you want to come? Do you want to? Oh, and then we die." Yeah.
So, this is going to be my first time ever moving, so it's definitely going to be an adjustment for me. Because I'm going to be going to a state where I don't have any family or like friends established in the area.
Yeah.
So I think in a lot of ways, you know, when you moved out here too, that was another thing, you know, you got to find the people who are willing to put in the work in that kind of a situation. So I think visits are definitely in our future. I don't really know what's going to happen, you know, in our, you know, personal lives, but I can see you in it for sure. And, you know, when we're old and gray, you know, wheelchair races.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Sounds great.
I'm in.
I'm first place, though.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I've seen a lot of articles now about friendship communes.
Oh, yeah.
Like when people are older, I'm like, older? Let's start now.
Yeah. Why aren't we already
waiting
doing this?
for?
I don't understand why. Well, and one of the things is if you need to go down to Cincinnati at any time in the next couple months, Kristin, let's go together because you have friend time and I'm going to the Cincinnati Zoo because I want to meet my girl Fiona.
Yes. Absolutely.
She is everything. I love animals.
Since we're friends now, you're more than welcome to come. You know,
and Ferguson's your new best friend, so I'll bring him too.
He's up there. He is up there. I don't know how he travels. It is he flies.
He's like, I doesn't. I doesn't. That sounds like a cat. I don't.
But yeah, it's a little bit of time from like where I live. It's a 4-hour drive. So, you know, it's work. And sometimes there are parts of friendship that are, you know, you have to put in more work. Not everything's easy.
Yeah.
But like if it's important, you do it anyways, right?
Yeah.
You know, you think about there are so many things in our lives that are hard, you know, that we do because we think we have to.
Yeah.
But like sometimes you do things that are hard because you want to.
Yeah. Like graduate school. Oh wow. I just got the look.
Well, I mean, to answer your question about, you know, in the future, I could see myself passing out, you know, her published work to people and like having it on my coffee. We talked about this, having it on my coffee table and being like, would you like
put it on your fridge?
Would you like some light reading when you're over?
I don't even have it, but she has it.
That reminds me of when my thesis got published at the library, just like in the binder or whatever, the bound book.
Yeah.
And I worked at the library, so I was like, let's go see this. And like my friend Erin, hi Erin, and my mom were like the only ones who checked it out. And I was like, thanks guys.
Now I know who the important people in my life are.
It means a lot.
But like being interested in what they're interested in, you know, is cool too.
Man, Kristin, you got a friend who's interested in your scholarship. Hang on to that.
I know.
It's really interesting. Like I've always really enjoyed school, but you know, grad school wasn't like the best path for me. Like when I graduated, but I got to see what it was like through her and like you know what she was doing, what you know she wasn't doing, the things that she liked, the things that she doesn't. You know, who knows? Maybe it's in my path in the future. I don't know, but you know, I always have somebody I can ask questions to, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's really smart. I'm telling you, it's like one of the most attractive things about you is your brain. Mm-hmm. Like it's
and you haven't even seen it.
I know, right? But like having intelligent conversations these days is so hard to come by.
Yeah.
Where you're not just talking about like random stuff, like what'd you do last night? Like actually talking about meaningful things.
Yeah.
And, you know, we always do. Like we definitely joke around and we have a lot of fun together, but like we talk about stuff that matters and like things that are going to affect our lives and like things that already have affected our lives in continuous ways. Like we'll ask, like I said earlier, the hard questions that, you know, so many people want to avoid stuff that like makes them upset or makes them vulnerable or like stuff like that. We don't do that. We ask the tough stuff because Kristin's strong. Yeah. She lifts heavy, mentally and
but it depends
physically.
It depends on what I'm doing.
It depends on what she's doing. Well, that's one of the things that, you know, that struck me about Kristin, having her in classes and having conversations with her, that it doesn't feel like when she comes into my office, for example, that she's just shooting the shit. It's like she comes in with a purpose or wants to like connect.
Goal-oriented.
Yes. And so, but it doesn't feel like cold. Like I think some people would think like that is, you have to be like, oh, hey, Karen. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that is when it's like goal oriented to get to a point that is like meaningful. And I think that is really cool. And talking to you both, I feel dumb right now, and I have a PhD. What? Just the way you talk about friendship is really cool. And it's not just something, you know, you feel it, you do it, you think about it, you talk about it, and it's really cool to see friends who truly care about each other and not in a way where there's any sense of competition or any sort of conflict. And it doesn't mean you haven't had your tiffs or haven't had these sorts of things, but it just feels like, I don't know if this is the right word because I don't want to like offend anyone. It feels like a very mature friendship.
I would agree.
Yeah. So that to me is really neat to see. And one of the things is that Kristin you listened to, I think it was my 1-year anniversary episode with Bill Rollins.
Yeah.
With Friendship Matters. And we were talking about on there like the meaning of friends. And one of the things that I had said was that, you know, I feel very lucky to have been sort of rich in life with friendship. And that I realized through the podcast that not everyone might have that because of those toxic friendships or other things that might be going on. So that's why it's really a goal for me to work through the issues, but also work through how hard it is to make friends and work through rejection and loneliness, because I think there are a lot of people who might listen or avoid listening because they don't have that, or they'd like it, or it's, you know, they've moved and they don't have established friendships. And so Kristin had written me and said that she felt the same way. And so I was wondering if you could actually talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind talking about your feelings or your thoughts about being rich in life with friendship.
Sure. So in your class last semester, you said something that was completely communication based. We were talking about an article. We were talking about affection exchange theory, and you said that we only know good affection because we know bad affection. We only know the good because we know the bad. We only know the bad because we know the good. And I feel like that's true for friendships. I know Megan is a good friend because I've had bad friendships, and they've shown each other, they've shown the bad and the good.
Yeah.
And just going through life and having different friendships, different relationships, you see how lucky you are to have people in your life, the qualities that they bring, how people uplift you. You can have relationships where you're just working together to have the best life for each other, supporting each other. And I'm lucky to have not just one friend who's like that, but multiple friends who are like that. And I feel like I'm the luckiest person to have Megan. Like, I don't think I will ever meet a person like Megan. Oh my gosh, I'm getting teary-eyed.
No, it's mutual.
Like, I feel like I'm lucky to know her as a person, but I'm also even luckier to have her as one of the closest people to me in my life. But I also have, like, my cousin Marissa, who is so important to me. I've known her, we're a month apart, so I've known her since I've been born, and that's a different relationship. And people just don't have that, or they don't realize that they have that. And I've been lucky enough through school and through this podcast and through my friendships to realize how lucky that I am and truly value, and it's made me put more into my friendships, listening to this podcast and realizing all these things and talking about it. I just realized that I don't feel lucky. I just feel wealthy. You know, like all the money in the world couldn't make me as happy as I am in my friendships. I could have a really nice house and car
that I bought her.
I could have all of these things, but my friendships are always going to be more important than that.
Snaps.
Snaps and claps. That was good.
Yeah. Well, and first off, thank you for listening to me in class. And second, someone learned something from you. I'm excited.
No, she actually told me about your class and how much she liked it. Because she does tell me about, like, class stuff, too.
Yeah.
Like,
what did she tell you about me?
Well, that...
Spill the tea, sister.
No, because I remember, because and this is right, you know, newer, right, when you had the class? Yes, no?
It was her first grad class.
Yeah, it's my first grad class.
So I remember, and she told me, she's like, she is so straightforward in her expectations.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things that we talked about because, you know, she's like, this might be a tough class, but, you know, like, I know what she wants.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
And, like, the actual information she told me that she really liked and the way that the class was structured and all of that stuff. So, like, shout out to your class.
Thanks. I was joking, but thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I mean, I've been blessed with like a pretty good memory. So like,
Of all the things that I've been blessed with, it's my memory.
That's not what I thought. I've been blessed with friendship, and then she's like, with my memory.
No. I mean this in there's a point. I swear to God. So,
All right, let's hear it.
And I think that when it comes to friendships and you're able to remember things that people tell you, like that means a lot. So like listening, listening, you know,
not
and
just listening. It's listening.
Like being heard and feeling like someone is, you know, keeping that information.
Yeah.
I always have felt that way about her. You know, when we are talking about, you know, do you remember this that I told you about like last year? Oh yeah, like I remember that. Like when you told me like this, and this, and it's like, you know, the fact that it's stayed with her. Yeah. And she'll continue. So, like, for me, you know, like, I don't have the problem where I'm like, I don't remember that anymore. Like, I'm able to be like, okay, it's this instance. Yeah. Last May. You know, like, I remember.
It was sunny. 43 degrees.
It's a blessing and a curse for me. God forbid I do something wrong.
I will always know. But, like, we've talked about this before, too. And, like, our favorite qualities about each other, she is an avid listener. Yeah. Like, and, you know, in so many instances in her life, you know, you can be frustrated because you're just like, you know, they don't hear me. I'm not valid to them. Mm-hmm. But, like, we're valid to each other. Yeah. And she always hears me and, like, asks questions based off of what I'm feeling. So, I don't know. Hearing is good.
Yeah, I think listening is something that we all could, and I don't mean we all, like the three of us around the table. I mean, we as like humans,
as the human race,
could be better listeners, right? Mm-hmm. We don't spend a lot of time teaching it, learning about it, being good at it, and a lot of times we're just concerned about like what the next person, like when you can get into the conversation, and it's like you have this conversation with someone, and a week later you try to update, and they don't remember anything you said. Mm-hmm. What happened now? It's like.
Because they were looking at their phone, or you know,
listen to anything I say.
It was like the brain was like partially engaged, right? Because you know, you meet up with somebody for lunch and you like are there, but you're also like dealing with other things or like things like that. Like we were talking about this too. One of the things about our friendship is like we're not those people who are like constantly like we have to take a picture of tonight and like post it. Like that's not our thing. Yeah. Like I would say we don't really have hardly any pictures together.
Well, this is going to be a bummer for promos this week.
Don't worry, we have some. We'll
but just put like stick figure, Karen.
Point arrows to be both Karen. Don't be confused. If you listen, you'll understand.
I'm so gonna do that.
but like so many friendships now are like, let me show off. You know, this to everyone else, and they can see how many friends I have, or they can see all these, you know, fun pictures that I have, or the fun things that I do. Yeah. And, like, our stuff is meaningful to us in a different way. We don't need to do that. You know, we don't need to be, like, all over socials and being like...
The
socials, the medias. We don't need to have those, like, how many likes can we get on a picture of the two of us, because we like each other, and that's what matters.
We just need the one like.
Yeah. Like, if she likes it, it's better than anyone else liking any of my stuff.
I like that because literally, you know, like, well, no, because double tap. I do like taking pictures, but I've always liked photographs and things like that, and I love going through like my family's old photos. Like a lot of times when my brothers are trying to find a photo, I probably have it now instead of my parents, and so it's just one of those things that I enjoy, and so I do take a lot of photos. But yeah, I think that when people go online and they see what everyone else is doing, and then they might feel less wealthy in their life in terms of friendship, and I think that can be really disappointing to think about. how social media makes us feel because of what people are posting. And it's like, you want to celebrate friendship, but then it's also like, does this make other people feel bad, you know? Or
like if someone's not invited.
Yes,
that, like,
exactly.
thought they were like friends with the group, and then, you know, like things like that. It's so hard to navigate, you know, how other people like feel emotionally.
Yeah.
But like relationships in general, like any type of relationship in a lot of ways, and feel free to disagree with me. This is just like a personal opinion. I feel like it's so much harder to have any type of relationship now because you like almost have to prove something to other people. Yeah. So like, you know, let's say you're dating someone and you have to post something on social media to be like, I have the greatest boyfriend. We've been together for 7 days. And like, you know, that kind of thing. But like, that's the thing, like month-iversaries. Yeah. And like, you know, why don't we have anniversaries for friendships? Like, why don't we? I celebrate friendiversaries. That's amazing. I love that.
Friendiversaries, yes. There's one group of friends, we've established you haven't listened to My Favorite Murder, but the fans of that show are called Murderinos. It's a true crime podcast and comedy. And so me and my best friend Kate, we met 4 other ladies through online, and then we met up. And so we celebrate our friendiversary every year. We just celebrated our second one in this past January. So
that's awesome. Do you have a party?
Yes.
Can we come?
Yes.
I'm not sure we're invited.
Listen, Karen. Karen is
she's in.
Karen's the one that always tries to invite herself along.
How accurate. I mean, it's spooky.
That's the Karen of friendships. Yeah. So one of the things that I do on this podcast is when I interview friends, or at least I try to, is a segment called A Dear Friend. And I feel like this entire podcast has probably been a dear friend, but let me tell you what that means. It's if you could write a letter to your friend, right? What would you say? And some of the things is it can be as long as short as possible, but it kind of gets at the idea of what your friend means to you. And so this is a time where I really try to make people cry. No, just kidding.
The tear ducts are working.
Getting worked up.
Yeah. So if you were to write a letter, Megan to Kristin, and Kristin to Megan, what would you say?
Do you want to go first? Or
you
can go
first. It's all you.
Okay, Karens, get it together.
Okay. Dearest Karen, comma. Make sure you have the comma in there. You're important. Period. You're wonderful. Period. You make me thankful that, you know, friendships exist. I think that there are so many wonderful things about you that you know, so many things that you don't always recognize, so many things you've taught me. I don't want to cry.
I'm sorry.
I'm getting there. Yeah. Behind these glasses. You invented fashion.
I love that.
You make me stronger. There would also be a sloth sticker on this, and maybe a llama one, like right next to your name. Sorry, I had to put in some humor there. What it means to be your friend is amazingness. Some of the time we've spent together has been some of the most valuable time in my life. I love you, Megan. Karen. Sorry. Crosses it out with a big S. Sorry.
I like how it started with, like, you're, like, with the punctuation, too, period. Because if that was a text, wouldn't that be a conflict, right? When people put periods on the end of sentences?
Or it's like my mom when she does, like, the talk to text. Hi, Kristin, period. Are you coming home for dinner? Question mark. How frustrating. Okay, is it my turn?
It is.
My dearest Karen, I don't know if I feel lucky to know you. I don't think that's the word to describe it. I think that you are one of the best people that I'll ever know.
You're okay. You're okay.
I admire so many things about you. You make me feel like I can do anything. And I appreciate all of the support and love that you give me, even when I'm being my worst self. Whether that means I'm angry or frustrated, or I'm mad at myself, or I'm hating myself in the moment, you always see me in the best light, and I don't think I'll ever come across someone who sees me in that way. You make me laugh. You make me cry. I appreciate your phone calls every day. I appreciate you driving here. I appreciate your friendship in a way that I could never repay you or never reciprocate. And I love you very much, and I'm looking forward to a lifetime of friendship with you. Karen. Period.
I'm over here crying. Me too. Everyone's crying.
I would add an extra sticky note on mine with some more stuff, but it would be really long. Yeah. We only have a certain amount of time.
I really appreciate, another hugs. Yes. I appreciate that. I'm over here like, where's the tip? Producer. Ferguson, can you bring us some tissues?
Where's that man?
He's off doing his business, you know.
Very busy man.
Well, no, I just appreciate y'all being so open about your friendship, and I think that the things that you said about each other, I think, are clear in each other as you speak. So there's a authenticity and truth to this friendship that I don't see quite often in friendship, and it's really beautiful. And so they're high-fiving each other now. Okay, nerds.
We already established that we're nerds.
Yes,
it's already there.
Minute one. So thank you so much for being on Best Forevers. I love to be able to celebrate friendships, and I appreciate your willingness to be real. So
thank you for having us.
Signing off, Karen and...
Karen! I was going to say, so until next time, find yourself a Karen, because without your friends, who would you be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.
Hi, I'm Tawny Plattis, and I host the Dirty Bits podcast, a show where I very casually retell the sexy, scandalous, and salacious stories your teacher probably left out. We premiere a new episode every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Visit us at tawnyvoice.com/dirtybits to learn more. See you next Tuesday.